Monster blood. It's green, it grows, it's something we've already talked about. 18 books in, it's time for the first of many sequel novels, Monster Blood 2. Before we show off the covers, I want to mention something I'm a bit embarrassed to talk about. An incredibly kind viewer of mine reached out to me to ask if I had a donation button. I didn't, but now I do. Do not feel obligated at all. I mean, I haven't even reached the ability to monetize this channel, but it will be linked on my channel page and in the description. As always, thank you for continuing to watch. Just leaving a like and subscribing is enough. So let's get into the covers. I'll detour a bit with a quick mention to the Monster Blood collection. Like I mentioned in the first video, it collects the first 3 books, no love for the 4th, and it isn't too interesting. Now for our original 1994 cover. The traditional Jacobus staples are here, like colored tiles and the warped perspective, all leading to our wonderful subject of this book, Cuddles the Hamster. This guy was everywhere. He doesn't even show up again after this book, but merch of this hamster started getting thrown out more than the amount of Funko Pops in a landfill. There were figures, watches, pencil sharpeners, stapler covers for God's sake. This book doesn't even have a classic cover yet, but this hamster has practically carried its entire legacy. The UK cover is no different. Cuddles looks even scarier now. With these beady eyes looking in different directions, he's giving me Peter Pettigrew vibes. And last, of course, is our 2000s reprint, zoomed in a different slime color as always. I didn't mention it before, but our taglines are, "He's one hungry hamster," and the back says, "It's back!" But how has Monster Blood come back? And how will it come back for another 2 sequels? Well, let's get into the book and find that out. Since this is our first sequel, let me do a quick recap of the first book. In that one, we had our main character, Evan Ross, a really annoying kid who had to stay with his great-aunt Catherine for the summer. He has a dog named Trigger, Catherine has a mysterious black cat, and Evan met a local girl named Andy. She had to get a toy for her cousin, so they both went to the antique store, and Evan found a mysterious can of Monster Blood in the back room. The old guy running the store reluctantly let him have it, and they go back to Catherine's place to play with it. It's just some green slime that bounces pretty well, but Trigger ate some of it outside. Suddenly, the dog started to grow, and so did the Monster Blood itself. This all culminated in both Trigger and the Monster Blood reaching monstrous sizes, with the Monster Blood threatening to swallow the kids whole. The final reveal is that Aunt Catherine's black cat is named Sarabeth, an evil witch that kept Catherine imprisoned in her house and forced her to enchant the Monster Blood. Trigger saved the day by running into the house and pushing Sarabeth into the Monster Blood, completely devouring her, and the Monster Blood returned to a normal size. Happily ever after, except the last little bit of Monster Blood seems to have disappeared. So if the enchantment on the Monster Blood is gone, how could it ever start growing again? To save time on speaking, I'll be referring to Monster Blood as MB for most of the summary. I'll make sure to note it on the side if you ever get confused. The first thing we see is Evan backed against a wall by Trigger, who's already the size of a pony, which has been used as a funny size of reference since the first book. But how could this be? The MB disappeared. Trigger grows even larger, and playfully grabs Evan in his mouth by the waist. He carries him outside and starts digging. "No, Trigger, I'm not a bone! Don't bury me!" Everyone starts laughing. It was all a dream, and in the middle of class, no less. He was talking in his sleep, and that is hilarious. His teacher, Mr. Murphy, yells at him for sleeping in class, and Evan mentions he's been thinking about the Monster Blood ever since the first book took place last summer. Mr. Murphy calls it out as something that can't possibly be real, and Evan just says, "Well, you're dumb." Everyone gasps. Mr. Murphy starts to turn red, but slowly calms himself down. Evan's the new kid here, because his family just moved to Atlanta after their business trip from the first book. Already a bad start, it seems. So for all the time wasted with this sleeping in class, Evan can do them a favor. When the bell rings, he can put his stuff away and then clean Cuddles' cage. Cuddles is the class pet, and you wouldn't believe it, but Evan hates him for some reason. He assumes Murphy knows that, so that's why this is already the 3rd time he's had to clean the cage. He jumps up and yells, "I won't do it! I hate Cuddles! I hate that stupid fat hamster!" He runs over to the cage, grabs Cuddles, and throws his ass out the window. While that would have been hilarious, it was just another daydream, an intrusive thought, if you will. So Evan just says, "Okay, Mr. Murphy," and mopes in his seat. He gives his own little recap of the first book, sulking about how no one will believe him, but he makes no mention of Sarabeth, the entire reason the MB grew in the first place. How strange. He wishes he could show it to the class and prove its existence, but there's none left. It disappeared after all. The bell rings and Evan heads up to his locker, not before getting tripped by the big kid in class, Conan Barber. Everyone calls him Conan the Barbarian, obviously because of the name, but also that for a 12-year-old, he looks 32. He's the prototypical jock, perfectly handsome, perfectly athletic, and he loves beating the shit out of kids smaller than him. When Evan first got here, he wanted to make a nice first impression with him, so he told him the Monster Blood story. Well, Conan didn't like that much at all. "We don't like wise guys down here in Atlanta," he said, and then he pounded Evan hard. So now all Evan does is try to stay away from Conan, but that's not happening now. Perhaps this is the start of a beautiful friendship between bully and small child. Conan says the trip was an accident and offers Evan one clean punch on his stomach. This is his chance. Evan the Giant Killer, they'll call him. He winds up as hard as he can and, like hitting a brick wall. Hey! What bad timing. Mr. Murphy's here. Why did Evan hit you? I don't know, Mr. Murphy. He just walked up and hit me as hard as he could. Conan fakes like he might need medical attention, barely able to keep a straight face. What a jerk. Murphy tells Evan to take care of Cuddles and he'll be keeping an eye on him from now on. Evan goes to do the business and he realizes, you know, Cuddles, you are pretty cute. But then he calls him a big fat rat. Can you even say that in a kid's book? Despicable. Near the end, Evan goes to grab some sunflower seeds in the supply closet, but when he turns back around, the cage is open. Cuddles is gone! Evan starts yelling, which seems to gather the attention of someone outside, as he hears footsteps in the hallway. He's got to find this hamster fast. Cuddles is actually on the chalk tray, chewing on some chalk. Gross! Evan tries to offer him seeds, but he starts to run away. He makes a grab and misses as Cuddles leaps onto the floor. Under the desk now, Cuddles successfully rage baits Evan by dodging as soon as he goes for a grab, running away again. This is serious. If he doesn't grab that hamster, he might get suspended. He finds Cuddles at the edge of the, for some reason, still open window, and he inches closer. But then Cuddles jumps out! Evan instinctively jumps out after him, and luckily the science room is on the ground floor. Cuddles starts making his way to the playground, and Evan resolves that he'll catch him, even if he has to sit on him. And the thought of a hamster flattened like a rug made him smile. Cuddles weaves through girls riding their bikes and right through the baseball diamond. Kids stop to watch the spectacle and laugh at Evan's inability to catch a hamster, not bothering to help. Somehow in that chaos, he lost Cuddles. Is this what you're looking for? Who else but Conan Barber? He has Cuddles in the most painful pinch grip of all time. He won't just give him back though. Evan has to prove it's his hamster. He's in the same class, so this is all some rude joke to him. He says, "Sing row, row, row your boat for me and I'll give him back. Just a few choruses, come on." Everyone's laughing so hard until they all go quiet. Mr. Murphy appears and Conan instantly hands Cuddles over. Evan let him get away, but I rescued him right before he was going to get run over. Somehow we found someone more annoying than Evan in a book, all in the same series. Murphy hits Evan with the one thing worse than anger, disappointment. He doesn't even get to defend himself before Murphy walks away. He pathetically walks himself back inside to get his backpack, contemplating on whether he should hate the hamster or the bully more. Seems pretty obvious to me. He imagines Cuddles being baked alive inside a muffin tin, but that doesn't cheer him up. Wouldn't cheer me up either. What the hell's wrong with this kid? He slams his locker shut in anger, though nobody's there to give him the attention, and he walks home. There's no way this day could get any worse. But just then, a figure leaps out of a hedge and pulls him to the ground.
It's you! It's you!
Andy's here, the girl space friend that Evan made in the first book. She's funny, not really. Fearless, kinda. And kinda crazy, definitely. She also wears bright colors, and no other girl does that. She's been sending him letters, and conveniently enough, her parents were sent overseas, so she'll be living with her aunt and uncle for a whole year, just 3 blocks away from Evan's new house. She tries to cheer Evan up, but after the day he's had, he's not feeling it. He tells her about everything, and she's surprised. You told everybody else about the MB, and you expected them to believe you? That's what I'm saying. He gets back at her by calling her Andrea, her real name that she hates. He suggests that she tell the kids at school that the MB was real too, but she has a better idea. She tells him to meet her at the park after school, that she brought something with her. But she won't tell. She loves torturing him. How cute, I guess. Evan wakes up in the night after another dream about the MB. He thinks about this stuff every night. If the plot actually acknowledged that Sarah Beth was the only reason it came to life, maybe there wouldn't be any nightmares. But then again, maybe there would be no plot? He drifts back to sleep wondering what Andy could have possibly brought with her. Next day at school, more of the same. Conan does elaborate pranks to laugh at Evan, and Mr. Murphy grills Evan about the trauma he gave Cuddles. The poor hamster's even shaking in the corner of the cage. Not only that, but someone poured water on Evan's seat, assumedly Conan, soaking his pants. Shit you not, the book says the class laughed at that for 10 whole minutes. After that mess, it's time to meet Andy in the park. She hands him a brown paper bag, and inside that bag is a familiar blue can. Monster blood. She saved it. Evan starts freaking out, but she assures him that the can is empty. He can still show the class though, and then they'll at least believe the stuff exists. But the lack of any actual MB changes his fear to disappointment. What good is an empty can? He pulls off the top for literally no reason, and he screams! The can is half full. Though I mentioned it before, it seems as though Sarah Beth will never be mentioned again. So why is the MB still growing? We'll never know. Now he can show it to the school. Andy even suggests giving some to Conan, and when he grows double his size, it'll really prove that this stuff works. A double-sized bully? Yeah, cancel that. They play around together, laughing about who gets to hold the can until Evan decides to lock in and remember the damn plot. This stuff is scary. It's dangerous. All the trouble it caused, the fact that it literally killed a woman, they don't actually mention that part, how convenient. So Evan's changed his mind. They gotta get rid of the stuff. But how? The odds of it either being found or growing in some way leave them lost. I know! Conan appears and tries to snatch the bag out from their hands. Evan quickly puts the bag behind his back, and Andy introduces herself to Conan. As if this kid couldn't get any worse, he hits her with the, "Andy's a boy's name." Fortunately, Andy shoots back by criticizing his name being Conan, and he's surprised that she knows about him. He remembers his actual task and goes back to asking for the bag. He clearly lies and says it's his bag, but when Evan says it's empty, he's like, nuh-uh, you put something in it. So Evan gives him the bag, and yeah, it's empty. Conan admits his mistake, so he offers Evan a handshake. You see where this is going. He squeezes his hand until the book describes it as a slab of raw hamburger. Great guy, Andy says. I agree. Bet he has a great family life at home. They have a brief scare about the MB being gone, but Evan just dropped it on the ground. And luckily it didn't roll, and Conan never moved his head to look around. So now what do they do with the stuff? It's already about 3/4 full now, growing exponentially like before, so their immediate idea is to just bury it. Simple and efficient. And they know where it is if they'll ever need it, but Evan is sure they'll never need it. Boy, is he wrong. It's finally time to learn a little bit about Evan's father. And by a little bit, I mean he does some metalworking. Art pieces. That's it. Evan makes some sarcastic jokes at his dad's poor attempts at art, like the wheel, which is just a giant metal cylinder that can spin. Great work. At school, Evan bumps into Andy and tells her that he's late to basketball tryouts because Mr. Murphy made him the permanent Cuddles caretaker from now on, which seems counterintuitive. Not only that, but Murphy's the basketball coach too. Annoying, surely, but Evan decides to walk into the gym with a positive mental attitude. And then he gets knocked out. It seems Conan threw a ball right at Evan's face. Though Mr. Murphy shows a little concern, Conan says that Evan should have caught it, and his friend Biggie agrees. So you can expect how the rest of this tryout goes. Conan and his friend bully him the entire time. At one point, Conan literally grabs Evan and dunks him into the basket, which is insane to imagine. And that still doesn't land him in any trouble. Murphy brings Evan to the side and says, "You're just not tall enough for the team." Of course, Conan gave him the handshake after the game. This time they compare him to a wilted petunia. Somehow he fell for that trick again, though I assume if he didn't agree to it, Conan would probably do that anyway. Evan and Andy go for a calm walk after he gives all the details on what happened today. And you know who Evan's anger is directed towards? Mr. Murphy, of course. Someone should teach him a lesson. Not that he's the greatest, but clearly you have to realize Conan's the source of almost all your problems at school, right? But in any case, Andy has an idea. They should dig up the monster blood and give a tiny bit of it to Cuddles so he grows to about dog size. Disregard the trauma and death from the first book because Evan is so down. But only a little bit. Bury the rest. They go to the tree to dig it up, but oh no! It's gone! Conan must have watched them bury it and dug it up for himself, but what's he gonna do with it? Before class the next day, Evan bravely goes up to Conan along with his best friend Biggie, and without mentioning the MB by name, insinuates that he took something that was his and Andy's, and it's gone. He says that he's a nice guy, so he'll help look for it. In his locker. The two bullies throw him to the locker and leave him to rot. Luckily, some girls help him out, though they laugh at him too. Now late for class because of this, Murphy is tired of Evan's class disruptions. A double cleaning for Cuddles' cage, and scrubbing the whole room clean. A little after 8, Andy's new plan is for them to sneak into Conan's house and grab the MB. And what if it's not there? Well, it's worth a look at least? Apparently she's been scoping the place out for a bit and nobody's home. They walk forward and then a low barking starts to sound out. A guard dog! Run! It's too late. The dog leaps onto Evan and licks him. It's Trigger, Evan's dog. Why is he here? No idea. They try the front door, which is expectedly locked, so time to try the back. That's locked too, but the kitchen window is cracked open. Great! They sneak up to Conan's room to find what you'd expect. Tons of sports posters, but then something that shatters his toxically masculine image. A teddy bear on his bed. How emasculating. It makes them laugh. The can of MB isn't well hidden either. He just put it on the shelf with his trophies. It's starting to overflow already, so Evan tries to push it down with his fingers. But MB does what MB does best and starts trying to pull his hand in. Just then, the front door slams. What terrible timing. Both Conan and his mother shout out at the same time that they're home. How terrible. Conan makes his way upstairs as Andy notices a small ledge outside his bedroom window. They both manage to balance on it as Conan reaches the room. They hope that Conan just goes back downstairs, but he's too busy listening to his boombox. And this is a lot of distance to fall. As if it couldn't get any worse, Trigger starts barking at them on the ground. Conan stops his music and peeks out the window, almost making Evan fall. Somehow Conan notices the dog, but not them, and as his mom calls him down for dessert, their luck is at an all-time high. They both make their way back inside the room and somehow have to find a way to sneak downstairs and out of the house. They hear the family talking in the kitchen, which must not be within view of the front door, and they are just about to leave when Conan's dad tells him to run upstairs and grab his math book. Oh no. But luckier still, Conan's mom tells him to wait. He needs to finish eating his cake and ice cream. How sweet. Maybe his home life is great, and he's just an asshole. Evan yanks the door open and the two bolt the hell out of there. When they reach Evan's house, Andy needs to use both hands to pull Evan's finger out of the MB. Evan's decided they should just bury it again. In Andy's yard this time. It's just too dangerous to mess with, so he makes her promise, and she does. The next day, Evan has a sore throat, so his mom keeps him home from school. How kind of her. The next day he comes to class, and when he walks past the cage, he wonders when Mr. Murphy got a rabbit. A rabbit? No, wait. Cuddles is bigger. Mr. Murphy accuses Evan of overfeeding Cuddles because of how fat he is. Almost as fat as you! Damn. Evan wanted to say that, but he didn't. Also, if you're gonna blame this many problems on Evan, maybe don't have him take care of Cuddles anymore, dumbass. Anyway, Evan knows this is clearly the fault of MB. He thinks to himself how he's gonna kill Andy for doing this to him. Meanwhile, all class long, Cuddles is still growing. After class, he runs to go meet Andy quick before having to stay with Mr. Murphy and discuss Cuddles' diet, but he finds Conan first. Conan hits him with the handshake trick again, and this time his hand is a lump of red clay. He sees Andy leave the school, but he's in too much pain to call out to her, and he's got to get back to the classroom. He tried calling Andy all night, but she doesn't answer. Another MB nightmare wakes him up, this time an hour before school. He decides to get to school before anyone else to see if Cuddles is any bigger, avoiding Mom's questioning by saying he needs to work on a science project. He jogs his way to school, makes it down the hall, and steps inside the classroom. He doesn't see Cuddles at all. Maybe he shrunk? But no, actually. Cuddles was too big. So big he's struggling to breathe, filling the entirety of the cage. Cuddles starts using his hands to bend the metal wires. He's escaping! We skip ahead to after school. Andy's asking Evan what he did back then. It seems Evan found a dog leash in the supply closet, because literally anything can be in that closet. Put it on Cuddles, tied the other end to Murphy's desk, and ran away. Andy says that apparently Murphy was angry at first, but then he started bragging about him, like he would win awards at a show for biggest hamster. And why did Andy do all this? To cheer Evan up. Well, that didn't work at all, huh? For once, Evan actually has some sense. Andy just doesn't understand how dangerous MB is. And of course, they have no idea how to reverse the effects of it either. Andy says she's got to get home or her mom will have a cow. A typical saying, but one that activates a synapse in Evan's brain. How big will Cuddles be tomorrow? The next morning, Evan decides to meet up with Andy to go to school together. He asks how much MB she gave to Cuddles. The whole can? No.
Only a spoonful.
As soon as they get to school, they hear crashing and cheering. Cuddles is on his hind legs nearly 10 feet tall. He and Mr. Murphy play a tug-of-war over a chair, and Cuddles wins. Murphy falls to the ground, and both kids and other teachers watch in fear as Cuddles chews the chair to pieces. Andy has the gall to say, "This is our fault. We've got to do something." Evan gets an idea. His idea is interesting, to say the least. His dad's metal wheel sculpture from before. Somehow it's big enough that Cuddles might be able to use it as his own hamster wheel, and then he'll lose weight and shrink back to normal. Luckily, this is just to serve as a distraction, so they can think up a real solution. They rush the wheel back to the room on its own stand that has wheels. Mr. Murphy said he called the police, but they thought he was just joking about a giant hamster. The police refusing to show up at a school is a bad sign. Cuddles finally notices the giant wheel. Will he run on it? Well, no, actually. He picks it up in his mouth and starts to chew on it. When he realizes that doesn't work, he uses his mouth to toss the thing at the windows, shattering them. I guess it's good nobody was standing over there, or they'd certainly be decapitated. So now what? No time to think. Someone's screaming. It's Conan. Cuddles has him in his paws and is moving towards his mouth. Conan starts crying and yelling for his mommy. And while this would be a great comeuppance for him, Evan at least has the heart to not want him to die. He has one more idea. He's gonna eat some monster blood himself and get even bigger than Cuddles. Then he'll stuff him in the supply closet, which must be way bigger than I imagined it before. They go to the locker to get the MB and notice as the door is bulging out. It's leaking out the sides. They struggle to open the door, and when they do, a wave of MB flows out and swallows Evan whole. Andy manages to pull him out, and Evan starts grabbing chunks of MB to eat. Not a bad taste, a little lemony. He goes to the classroom and pries Conan out of Cuddles' paws, but there's a problem. Evan isn't getting any bigger. They're the same size, and for some reason, Cuddles outweighs him? He and Andy don't know why he's not growing anymore, and as Cuddles lifts Evan up to his mouth, he embraces death. A popping noise, and then Evan opens his eyes. He's normal again, and so is Cuddles. Andy takes a closer look at the can and sees that the expiration date was today. Really? Murphy thanks Evan for saving the school and asks if he ever thought about trying out for the wrestling team. Andy comes over to Evan's for dinner that night. It seems all the kids at school apologize to him, and he wants to talk all about it, but she interrupts him with a package that her parents sent her from Europe. But before that, we get interrupted by the doorbell. Mr. Murphy shows up at the door to thank Evan again and give him a small token of appreciation. And that reward? The responsibility of having to take care of Cuddles for the rest of his life. That's messed up. Funny enough, Andy reaches into the envelope and pulls out what else but a new can of monster blood. Her parents couldn't remember the plot, so they just remembered how much fun Andy had the first time and got her another. Not only that, but Andy's already opened the thing. Not to use it, but just to look at it. That makes sense. She leaves it on the desk and they go eat dinner. When they come back, the hamster cage is wide open. Cuddles, what are you eating? So, not as bad as Why I'm Afraid of Bees, but come on, really? So the entire magical spell with Sarah Beth and Great Aunt Catherine has been disregarded, and it seems all cans of monster blood are enchanted to grow like that until its expiration date. How lousy of a cop-out is that, by the way? I can think of one better right now. Here, imagine this. Maybe Cuddles and Evan fight at the end like Godzilla and another kaiju, and they both puke the stuff up, returning them to normal. We're really supposed to expect the can from the first book miraculously had an expiration date on this exact day? Brilliant. At least Evan was a little bit less annoying in this book. Instead, Andy took his place. She doesn't care about the consequences of the MB at all, includes Evan in the blame for what happens, and is excited to have more of it at the end. What an annoying way to bait for the next sequel. I'm sure they've both learned their lesson by now. But that's not all. This book technically doesn't have an episode, but there is a sequel to the first episode called More Monster Blood. And what better time to talk about it than now? So if you remember the first episode, the plot was largely the same, with some extra detail given to Sarah Beth's backstory, not that that matters. It ended with a teased plane ride where a suitcase with the remaining MB was starting to overflow in the cargo hold. Evan is telling this random nerd about MB, just like the first episode, and this big bully comes up to ask what the story is about. Funny enough, they call him Conan in this episode. He doesn't seem as intimidating or handsome as the book makes him out to be. He even gets told off by this girl Julia, and the nerd, pretty easily. Evan retells the entire story, which Conan thinks is pretty stupid, and we learn the nerd's name is Curtis. Julia and Conan once went to camp together, but they hate each other. Conan's got no friends, and Julia's a dumb, rich girl. They get served some classic airline food. which just looks like raw chicken, and Curtis gives out his entire list of allergies.
All milk products, all food additives, monosodium glutamate, monocalcium phosphates, peanuts, shellfish, bee stings, fruit-bearing animals, synthetic fabrics, as well as all pollen, spores, and fungi. Oh, and mints.
When we were at camp, all I ate was parsnip juice and tofu.
It's really not that bad.
Evan makes some small talk with Julia, some light flirting too.
Maybe you'll be in the same school as you.
Maybe. I could introduce you around.
That'd be cool.
A flight attendant gets sent down to the hold at the pilot's request. He thinks something's rolling around down there. He finds plenty of traces of MB until he sees... Conan scares Curtis with an ant, and he steals Evan's seat too. Don't forget about that ant though, because it just got a taste of some monster blood. We follow this guy on an uncomfortable trip to the bathroom, where he tries to wash his face and gets soap in his eyes. Trying to wash it off, well... A line starts to form because the guy's been stuck in there for 10 minutes. Evan gets a peek of what seems to be the MB. Even though it immediately disappears, he doesn't think of it as a hallucination, but the truth. He nearly causes a panic on the plane, but the bathroom is spotless. At least the flight attendant is reasonable, because she goes to check on the other flight attendant. But there's already MB on the hatch. Not only does this version immediately forget the magic spell, but it gets a power upgrade. Just touching the stuff immediately pulls you in. At this point, the MB is approaching decently fast, but they manage to stay pretty calm. They also find something else out. It senses movement. How it still grabbed the passengers sitting completely still, I don't know. They just start throwing shit at it, and Conan gives it some airline food. As if this age-old joke wasn't stale enough, the food is so bad that it makes the monster blood sick. If they can feed it enough, they might be able to kill it. Because of Curtis's small size, he must overcome his allergies and crawl through everyone's luggage to get to the food cart. In a move completely unlike his book self, Conan sacrifices himself to let Curtis grab the food cart. You might notice that him and Evan don't really seem to be in much of a rush, though. With some more help from Julia, though, they shove the cart into the MB and it slow motion spits out everything inside, including the passengers. A great happy ending. Everyone sits back down calmly with no questions whatsoever. This old lady wakes up to eat her cold food, and Trigger shows up to be cute. On the descent, somehow they got a hazmat team to show up and collect the leftover MB. Evan even gets Julia's number. Smooth. But oh, he forgot his jacket. But there's also something else I hope you guys didn't forget about. That ant that ate the monster blood. Perhaps a more enjoyable take than the second book. It's funny that both versions just decide to disregard the abilities and origins of the MB, making it even more powerful in this version, with a weakness to airline food. No Andy, Julia was completely new, as was Curtis, and Conan was dumbed down to the typical bully with a heart of gold. But how about that ant? That would scare the hell out of me as a kid. Reminds me of that wormy jump scare from SpongeBob. But how about you? Which version of this did you like better? And are you excited that this series still has 2 more sequels? We'll get to the third one in a little bit, but for now, we'll have to take a trip under the water because in 2 weeks it's time for Deep Trouble.